Hello everyone, welcome once again to Pop Culture Comics in Overland Park, Kansas. I'm Captain Logan, and it's time for my comic book picks of the week. Sorry for the delay in getting the video up this week. We had the holiday last week, and that set shipping back a day, and I wasn't able to get in until a little bit later in the week. So if you haven't been to the shop yet, here are some recommendations for you as usual. And if you have, maybe there will be some things here that you can look for on the shelves next week. As always, I'm going to bring you my favorites for the week in the categories of DC, Marvel, independent books, and kids books. So let's start it off right now with my DC pick, and that's DC Universe Online Legends number 18. I reviewed an issue of this series months back, but in case you missed that video and you don't know anything about this series, I'd like to reiterate that even though it ties into the DC Universe Online video game, you don't need to be playing that to read this or to care about what happens here. And if you're craving new stories that feel a little more traditional DCU, now that the reboot is in full swing, check this out. Even though it's 18 issues in, Marv Wolfman does a fine job bringing new readers up to speed as he goes along, giving you just enough information to keep you from getting lost, but without spending panels and panels recapping things. Brainiac has escaped, and the superheroes have split themselves into two groups trying to track him down, each aided also by a villain or two. One group is searching his stolen bottle cities, while the other is searching his old ship. Lex Luthor is actually helping the heroes now, claiming that even though he helped build Brainiac's robots for him to destroy Superman, he's always been on the, quote, side of mankind, and would never condone genocide. He claims Brainiac played on his ego when he foolishly allowed himself to be duped into helping in a plot to destroy humanity. Wolfman is great at misdirection and plot twists, throwing curveballs at the reader that flow out of the investment he makes us feel for the characters rather than just cheap shock value. It sure seems like Lex is telling the truth, and then there's evidence that maybe he's still in league with Brainiac. I won't give away which way it goes, but I couldn't call it myself, and it was fun to genuinely be surprised by the outcome. I also really enjoy seeing villains like Lex and Mr. Freeze forced to work with the heroes, and Wolfman plays a lot with the differences in how they operate and what that does to their working dynamic. Even though there are tons of characters here, and most are largely in the background, those that only get one or two lines are often saying or doing things that are very indicative of their characters, and they don't feel like generic bodies populating a book because the title has the word universe in it. And the Atom and Cyborg play a larger role than I might have expected. There's a lot of action and plot packed in one issue, and it's definitely worth your $2.99. And jumping over to Marvel this week, I've gone with Daredevil, number 6. Mark Waid seems to have figured out the perfect balance for Daredevil. It's half old-school, light-hearted adventure story, and it's half gritty crime drama. I love how Matt uses his head in this series and makes the same kinds of moves as a superhero that he does as a lawyer. In this issue, the 5 most dangerous crime cartels, including Hydra and AIM, are after something, and the thing they're after is pretty clever, so I won't give it away. By the end, Daredevil finds an ingenious way to beat them, mostly with words, and the man he rescues tells Daredevil he should be a lawyer. There's a new hitman, Bruiser, who's hiring himself out to whoever will pay the most, and he comically wears his sponsors' names on his outfit, kind of a commercial henchman with grandiose dreams of villainy. He doesn't see Daredevil as much of a prize, but fights him anyway. He'd rather fight the Hulk, who's more in his weight class, as he says, and he's trying to work his way up to that. What really cracked me up is when it's mentioned that he has a website and apparently blogs about this. His power is pretty interesting, and he reminds me a lot of some of Daredevil's earliest villains from the Stan Lee days. He can change his center of gravity at will, and that makes him virtually invincible because nothing can move him. Of course, Daredevil comes up with a clever way to combat him, and the fight isn't just random punches, but a fascinating chess match we see played out. In the middle of a larger chess match we're seeing played between Daredevil and the criminal organizations. This is the end of an arc that's been building, but it stands great on its own. My indie book of the week is a new one on me that I really like. This is Near Death, number 3. Near Death is the kind of story that Image is known for. Supernatural crime drama. It's about a murderer who almost dies, goes to hell, and has to help as many people as he can to pay for his crimes. It's your classic road to retribution story. But what I really like about this one is that the going to hell and coming back part seems to be the only supernatural element to the book. Beyond that, it's very realistic stuff. I haven't read the 2 issues before this, but the writing is very competent, and I didn't feel lost. The situation is instantly gripping. Markham murdered Detective Cahill's partner 2 years earlier, and now he shows up to help her get out of a jam with her department. Some crooked cops have found out she accidentally heard a tape that recorded them in a police car talking about their illegal dealings, so they're trying to kill her. So Markham and Cahill come up with a plan to get Cahill out of danger, and their relationship is fascinating. Of course, she's been trying to get enough evidence to put this guy away for 2 years, and now he's helping to save her life. What do you do with that? Most of the book is well-paced conversation, and it's not real action-packed, but it never gets dull. And it's gritty, but not unnecessarily violent. The focus is all on a very character-driven story, and it's a great one. I'm very intrigued to read more about Markham, a protagonist I find I really like, despite also buying that he used to be a murderer. That's hard to pull off, and Jay Farber does it here with ease. And finally, for my kids' book this week, it's Green Lantern the Animated Series, number 0. There were a couple things that made me dig this immediately as I started reading. First, I'm glad this book isn't doing the same 3D art in its panels that the show is doing in its animation. It looks a lot like the traditional 2D art in Bruce Timm's animated DC shows, Batman, Justice League, etc., and of course the TV show is produced by that team. The other thing is Hal Jordan's almost childlike innocence. Hal's never been a character I could get real excited about, but I instantly liked this version because there's a carefree naivety about him. It isn't raw arrogance so much as giddy excitement about his job. He just seems elated about being a Green Lantern. But he can also get serious when a situation does, as Kilowog is kidnapped by Red Lanterns here, trying to steal his ring. This is a fantastic series to get kids on, as it explains how the Green Lantern Corps and the rings work, but in an entertaining way. There are lots of words on each page, and it's not dumbed down, and it's really well plotted. In fact, the story is plotted a lot like a half-hour Bruce Timm episode, and that's hardly surprising since it's written by Art Baltazar, who seems to be the current go-to guy for solid all-ages stories. And because it's in that style, I think a lot of adult readers, especially Green Lantern fans, are likely to also enjoy it. It really focuses on the science fiction aspect of Green Lantern, dealing with altering matter to make a red ring into a green ring, and though I don't read a lot of Green Lantern myself, this is the kind of story I like. Members of the Corps dealing with crime out in space, rather than just hell on Earth. I hope this series does well, because it's as good as the best kids' books I've been reading lately. And other books released this week that I really liked, and you might too. Here's Angel and Faith, number 4. Angel continues his obsessive quest to bring Giles to life as he and Faith discover that the end of magic on Earth has altered the Mora blood, and it's not pretty. And for Marvel, it's the very bizarre and highly entertaining Uncanny X-Men, number 2. Celestials are on their way to attack the Earth, and Sinister reveals a lot about his past, and also about what he's planning for a really scary future. Also for Marvel, there's a one-shot out this week called History of the Marvel Universe, number 1. A concise retelling of the overall story of the Marvel Universe told from the Watcher's perspective, starting with the origin of the Fantastic Four and going all the way to Fear itself, touching on the biggest and most important events over the decades and complete with lots and lots of artwork. And finally from IDW, Star Trek, number 3. The first part of the new continuity take on the Galileo 7, where instead of experiencing his very first command crashed on a planet in a shuttlecraft, Spock deals with finally being in command again, like he was briefly before Kirk got the Enterprise. Well, hey, that's all I got for you this week. If you're ever in the Kansas City area, be sure to check out Pop Culture Comics right here in Overland Park, Kansas. It's my favorite place to get comic books, and it's where I am at this very moment. If you happen to be watching this on the Pop Culture website, be sure to check out Geekvolution on YouTube. That's youtube.com/Geekvolution. You can also check out our stuff at wearegeeksnotnerds.com, and you can follow us at Twitter, and that's at Geekvolution. If you don't live in the area, be sure to support your own local comic book store, and thanks as always for watching. I'm Captain Logan, and happy reading.